When my kids were little, I used to read to them from Alice in Wonderland. And I remember we learned that the Mad Hatter was mad because it represented hatters of the time, and that apparently the guys who made hats used mercury to turn the fur into felt, and they would breathe the mercury, and it would cause brain damage, and hence the Mad Hatter.
Hey, you learn something new every day. I feel kind of bad for those hatters though. Good thing we figured out mercury is toxic. Who knew making hats could be such a dangerous profession? Hi, I'm R.
And I'm Jay.
In this video, we're going to be debunking a video from Thrive Movement regarding chemtrails. Enjoy!
And that was in the 70s and 80s that I had my young kids, and I at the same time was learning that we were supposed to avoid using aluminum pots and pans because there was apparently a connection to autism. So that was the first time for me that I made any connection between heavy metals and human health.
Exposure to heavy metals can cause serious health issues. That's why we stopped using lead-based paints. But the reality is, heavy metals are everywhere, including the soil, the food we eat, and the air we breathe. Something people need to be aware of is that heavy metals exist and they are present within your body regardless how much you try to avoid them. The real issue is the dosage of heavy metals that a person is exposed to, as the dosages we are commonly exposed to are harmless. The cause of autism, however, is still a topic of debate between experts, though there is some research showing exposure to heavy metals could be one facet of this problem. It is important to remember that correlation doesn't equal causation, however. Anyway, let's get to chemtrails.
And then a few years ago, I learned that there was an unnatural amount of aluminum in the soil, and that there was a program spraying aluminum and other heavy metals up into the atmosphere, and so I wanted to check it out. And that's the first way that chemtrails showed up for me. Basically, chemtrails is a geoengineering program where airplanes fly at high altitudes and they spray chemicals into the atmosphere, including aluminum, barium, and strontium. And then those metals fall to the ground and they land in our bodies, on the soil, in our trees, in our food, and in our water.
Really? Why? That's like someone walking into the living room of a share house and just pissing all over everyone's stuff. Sure, if you don't like your roommates, you may want to piss them off, but you just pissed on your own stuff too. Now everyone has to deal with your piss. Why would anyone knowingly spray harmful chemicals into the atmosphere they breathe?
Many people confuse chemtrails with the normal jet contrails. The difference is that the normal jet contrails actually dissipate within minutes, while the heavy metals in the chemtrails cause those trails to persist for hours.
Have you possibly considered the planes are at different altitudes? Heat and humidity directly affect how vapor trails or jet streams dissipate. It's not a difficult one to grasp.
And it's not a hypothetical thing. There are 32 states that already have legislation that's related to weather modification. The U.S. agencies that are documented to be involved in it include the U.S. Air Force, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the U.S. Department of the Interior, the National Science Foundation.
Okay, so you didn't provide any references for those claims, and the source you offered was subpar at best. Are we supposed to take chemtrails911.com seriously?
And, I know China boasted about using cloud seeding and weather changing before the 2008 Olympics in order to keep the opening ceremony dry.
Yeah, I read that, though I don't see any reason to extrapolate a one-off incidents for the Olympics where they used various methods which haven't been specified to control the weather to a global chemtrail problem occurring every day. Perhaps provide some evidence for frequent and repeated usage by commercial aircrafts or something more substantial.
So that this is happening is completely documented. It's just that you have to know where to look because it's not talked about on mainstream weather reports.
Well, of course they don't mention it on mainstream media. What would they say? We were expecting light showers this afternoon, but thanks to mercury in the air provided by your local government, you can expect sunny afternoons for the rest of the week. In other news, the autism risk has been raised to level 4 Asperger's. If the information is hard to find, you could very easily share it with us. You obviously have seemed to found it, so where is it? And please don't give me chemtrails911.com.
And this is where it gets controversial. And it's kind of weird because even though it's factual that there are metals in the atmosphere and factual that those metals are falling to the ground.
Okay, there are heavy metals in the atmosphere. I will accept that fact. Why does that mean chemtrails exist? Most of the chemicals in the atmosphere come from industrial pollutants. Areas near factories will have higher levels of metal in the atmosphere than less industrial areas. Where does chemtrails come into it? I would also like to point out that the image you presented showing documentation of levels of metals in the atmosphere has no source or point of reference on it anywhere, and you provide no links to it. A middle schooler could write up that document on Microsoft Word. It's pointless without a source reference.
When you acknowledge that or question the legitimacy or the legality or the safety or the morality, it becomes controversial.
It's controversial because you don't provide any evidence for it. If you had any form of legitimate information which could be independently verified, it would not be controversial. So far, you have just stated that heavy metals are bad, planes release chemtrails, and provide no evidence or even reasonable motive, yet you expect to be taken seriously.
And really, that's sad because if you're questioning something that has such major impact on us and on future generations and on our planet, it seems to me that it should be one of the most natural and encouraged parts of life and education.
Are you seriously asking why people are questioning it? Firstly, that's what we do. Secondly, just because you claim that something could have a negative outcome doesn't mean anyone should accept it without criticism. Appeal to fear fallacy much? I don't like the idea of some evil agency dropping chemicals on me and giving me the autisms, but without logical reasons to do so, I'm not going to take up arms or devote my time and money to an illegitimate cause.
So if you're not educated about this issue, I encourage you to do some basic research, and I've put some links at the bottom of this blog to help make that easy.
Translated to, read my unsubstantiated conspiracy websites and believe them. If your sources claim I'm wrong, just read my sources. I read your sources, and almost all of them were websites that are definitely not reputable, and the other ones you have just misrepresented. Seriously, chemtrails911.com is obviously not a good unbiased source.
I personally don't know anybody who is informed who isn't concerned, although the range of concerns is vast.
That just depends how you define informed. By informed, you mean agrees with you. I would say informed is someone who has rationally approached the evidence and reached a conclusion. Sadly for you, the smallest bit of critical thinking pokes giant holes in your claims. You can't just class anyone who disagrees with you as misinformed.
For some, it might be that they think that this is a benevolent weather modification program, like putting snow on ski slopes in a bad season, but that it's inadvertently having some negative health impacts. Somebody else might think that the so-called solar radiation management is backfiring because the supposed idea is that you blanket the sky with these heavy metals and it reflects the sun back to itself.
Where's your reference? You could just link a government website describing this weather control policy they have allegedly implemented. What am I supposed to do? Take your word for it? Or take a read of one of your unbiased sources such as whyintheworldaretheyspraying.com?
However, it's also creating a blanket and trapping the heat in, and so they are concerned about that.
Please show me the evidence of this government policy. Governments are pretty incompetent, but I don't think they're stupid enough to try and deflect sunlight with heavy metals in the air to the point where it causes global warming. Let's fight global warming by causing extra global warming that also poisons people.
Somebody else might think that it's a corporate agenda to get an upper hand on commodities trading by being able to control and therefore predict the weather. And when you realize that 80% of the global economy is impacted by weather, that would certainly give someone an upper hand.
If you can have so many conflicting opinions on the motives and methods of your own conspiracy theory, that is not a good sign. If you have evidence, you would just display it clearly and determine where it leads, rather than making arbitrary speculations on why the government appears to be poisoning itself and the rest of the country.
Somebody else might just think it's a very sinister plan to sicken people and further control our food supply.
I didn't expect this to reach the point of referencing the Illuminati. I know it's just an image, but if you seriously have people on your side who say the Illuminati does chemtrails, it isn't doing wonders for your cause.
The point is that there are any number of concerns no matter what belief system motivates you. And that's significant because I think it both validates the range of dangers and at the same time it informs what we can do about it. Because even for those of us who are convinced that we have a problem, our motivations and concerns vary, and that means that our strategies for engagement also have to vary.
So what it looks like is a group of conspiracy theorists who are scared of the condensation that comes off planes and can't agree on whether it's the Illuminati or some other wild conspiracy. This is why no one takes you seriously. So she goes on to explain all these methods for fighting chemtrails, which we aren't going to go over as it isn't really important to her argument, but we did want to show you the last couple as they just gave us a good laugh.
You could look into what treaties address international toxic spraying. You could draw a poster that would help highlight the issue. You could write a song like Skull did.
Seriously, draw a poster or write a song. I don't even have anything substantial to say to that. All I can think of is a bunch of conspiracy theorists sitting around drawing chemtrail posters and writing songs that no one will ever care about.
If you're a lawyer, figure out what we're going to be needing for a class action lawsuit.
Are you really going to take advice from random people on the internet claiming to be lawyers? If you actually have real evidence, you have a case and you should report it to the proper authorities or go hire a lawyer. If it's so important, why are you waiting for freebies?
I'm confident that we can stop chemtrails. We need to get informed. We need to communicate and coordinate with each other. We need to be organized and we need to act effectively. We're going to do what we can at thrivemovement.com to facilitate that. And in the meantime, do whatever it is that concerns you most. It doesn't matter how much that's different from what concerns somebody else. It's that we're all concerned that unites us. So do your part, share what you learn, and keep looking up. Thanks.
Well, I can tell you we will do our part. We're doing it right now, though it is definitely a lot different from what concerns you. The thing we value the most is the truth, and as a result of that we value evidence and critical thinking. I only wish the same mattered to you. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel for weekly videos, like this video and share it around to help us raise the bar of public discourse and also spread the holy word of Bloop.